Hello, everyone. I am back to talk about the automatic qualifiers, the Big Five plus the host country this year at Eurovision 2025. Next week in Basel, Switzerland. It is almost here. I usually like to get these videos up a little sooner. Things took a little longer this time. I have already done videos about semifinal 1 and semifinal 2, which I will link below, where I go through my favorite and least favorite songs, what I would send through if, a televote of one, me, was, in charge of those semis. But I also, more importantly, predict what I think will happen to the best of my ability. And of course, we're going to kind of continue with that in this video, although I only have 6 songs to talk about, not 15, 16, so it'll be a lot shorter, thank goodness. But of course, we aren't talking about qualifications here. These songs are automatically in the final, even though they are going to be performing on the semis. We're going to get 3 on Tuesday, 3 on Thursday. And then, of course, they will perform to actually compete on Saturday. Now, you know probably if you've watched my channel how I feel about automatic qualification slots. I'm not going to spend too much time diving into those thoughts, but I will just briefly surmise. I've heard all the arguments for why the Big Five should be allowed an automatic spot. I still don't buy it. I think in the fair sportsmanship of it all, they should have to duke it out just as much as the others. And I do also think that it actually disadvantages a lot of countries in the Big Five. But them performing during the semis is a way to boost their visibility for the voting public. But I still think it's not quite the same as, having to vote them through into the final. So I am going to be talking about these 6 songs in my order of preference. We are going to be starting at the bottom, working our way up. And of course, I will share a little bit of my thoughts on where I predict these songs are going to land on the scoreboard. I think that this year, the Big Five is a little different maybe for some countries. We have usually in the Big Five certain countries that end up in the bottom, okay? Germany, UK, Spain, those 3 countries in particular seem to, and I don't know if we put them through the semis, if it would change their fates that much. It might just be a song quality issue, a staging quality issue, particularly when it comes to the BBC. However, Germany also, I do think that, fates can change, and we have seen that. The UK was in 2023 or in 2022, a huge, seismic resurrection that, ending up coming second in the contest for, so long. They barely even, were in the top 10 or 15 or barely even on the left side of the scoreboard. So it was, having them be 0 for so long at the bottom of the pack. Germany, unfortunately, hasn't had so much luck. Their last really good result was in 2018. And then Spain has been perhaps a little bit better, but still really struggling. The 2 Big Five countries that have done really well are Italy and France. However, I think that we are going to open this video by talking about one of the countries that I think has really stepped down and fallen from grace. Although I think that, I want to preface that I don't think that any of the songs that I'm going to be talking about in this video are truly bad. I think that actually the Big Five are, to some extent, in general, as a whole, one of the stronger groups, but the bar is pretty low that we've had in recent years. There isn't a song in the Big Five, and of course in the big, with the host country of Switzerland added, which we'll talk about, that I feel like is bottom 5 in my list, okay? Or possibly even bottom 10. I don't actually think there are any bottom 10 songs from the Big Five plus the host country this year. And I can't say that very often most years. So keep in mind, my least favorite automatic qualifier doesn't necessarily mean that I think it's anywhere near the very bottom of what this contest is offering us this year. So I just want to qualify that. And my bottom 2 spots are honestly, it's a little interchangeable. I'm having a little bit of a hard time with it. But I'm going to have to just be completely honest, and I know it's controversial to be honest, but you got to be honest. It's the truth. So the bottom song for me this year is going for the AQs is going to go to Spain. Now, I had a hard time, honestly, determining this, and my thoughts have changed since I made my initial ranking of all 37 songs, a month and a half ago or whatever. So I will link that in the description as well in case you're interested. But as always, my thoughts do change over the coming ensuing weeks. Essa Diva by Melody is perfectly safe as a Spanish entry, as a Latin pop entry, as a bombastic diva pop entry. I will say it is an improvement over Nebulosa last year. I will say that. The energy is there, and I do think that she could be a really great vocalist on stage. But I don't know if the song is doing enough to that memorable to sort of walk in the footsteps of a Chanel or so many of the other great Latin pop divas that we've had represent in Spain before. I think a lot of people are a little underwhelmed by the song. I mean, again, it's a sleigh, but with like a lowercase s. I hope that, vocally it's top notch. The staging is top notch, energetic, but I just don't see this song, I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know if I necessarily see this song sitting in, the nil point bottom 3 category of this contest because of the bombastity of it, the brazen female diva-ness of it. Usually when Spain goes this route, they do kind of better. It's, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, it's hard to know. I don't think this song is coming necessarily left-hand side of the scoreboard, but I could see the juries in televote giving it a little bit of love. I see it getting a little bit of a sprinkle of love. And there's actually 1 or 2 songs that I still think might be in a little bit more trouble with getting particularly televote love that I'm going to talk about that could actually place Essa Diva above 1 or 2 other of the automatic qualifiers. I think Essa Diva is going to be bottom 3 out of these 6 songs. I'm just not sure where in that bottom 3, but I don't think it's going to be at the very bottom. But what is my next least favorite? The song I like just a little bit more. This is a really, really tough one. I gotta be honest, because honestly, these 3 songs are kind of take it or leave it for me. They're not songs I'm repeating, listening. I'm really coming back to. They're not songs I'm that excited to see performed on stage. I'm going to be completely honest. But I have to weigh certain factors in this ranking. So do I go with, musicianship, and do I go with maybe something that's a little more traditional that could, the juries could like, or do I go with something that's a little more televote friendly? I honestly have no idea. I personally just have to go with my own taste. And so I am unfortunately going to have to. I am actually going to put Italy as my second least favorite this year, which again is a little bit of a change from, my original ranking. I had Italy a little higher at first, but I think now that we've heard all of the songs and we've got other ballads, other rock ballads, we've got Portugal's entry, for example. I'm just not feeling this one as much. It's definitely a song that I think could safely not qualify if any other country were sending it. Italy's really lucky that they're going to automatically get in because I don't think this song's good enough. I also have heard a lot that the performer, Lucio Corsi, has been sort of absent from a lot of the pre-parties so far. There hasn't been a lot of performances beyond the San Remo performance. Interestingly, he wasn't the initial choice. The band that actually won, or the artist that actually won, ended up turning down Eurovision, which is not unusual. The winner of San Remo does not automatically go to Eurovision. They have the option to, but it's their choice. And, a lot of the time they choose not to. And so another performer from San Remo, usually second, third place, takes the spot. Volevo essere un duro translates roughly to, I wanted to be a tough guy. I really like the music video. The guy in the bedroom of this girl, she's kind of having this fight with her parents, and he's a poster on the wall, sort of symbolizing that tumultuous period of self-discovery that you go through as a teenager, dealing with family, dealing with, that whole dynamic. I wanted to be a tough guy who doesn't care about the future, a robot, a sumo wrestler, a drug dealer on the run from a wolf dog. At Bologna Station, a hen that lays golden eggs. I'm nobody, though. I wasn't born with a tough face. I'm even afraid of the dark. If I get into a fight, I get beaten up. So they paint my eyes black. But I've never wasted my time. It's time that has left me behind. Living life is child's play. That's what my mom used to tell me as I fell from trees. How tough the world is for the ordinary ones who have little love around them or too much sun in their glasses. A song for the outcast, a song for the insecure, someone who is reckoning with their shortcomings, whether physical or, metaphysical, personally. It's a song about fitting in, it's a song about growing up. It's got, a hopeful tinge, a reflective tinge. It's got a safe, kind of pleasant, cozy melody. It's safe, middle of the road pop rock. And I think that Lucio has a fine voice. I just don't see this jumping off the page, and I don't see people clamoring to vote for it. I think this is probably going to be Italy's worst result in a long time. And I don't think it'll necessarily come at the bottom because somehow I think Italy might be immune from that. The null point thing. I wonder if this year we might not have any null point. I don't know. Last year, the 0 went to the UK, so the 1 null point. I will see. And interestingly, the betting odds still have Italy above Spain in the running odds, in the betting odds, but only by like 3 places. Germany is the lowest, I believe, of the big 5 in the betting odds this year, which is not uncommon for Germany to be in that space. But there's a lot of countries below them. So I think that, although I think a lot of that factors into just the fact that they're guaranteed in the final and a lot of the countries below them aren't. But yes, so I don't know, we'll see. But it kind of gives bathroom break. I think a lot of people are sort of, and a lot of people are questioning whether Lucio's that invested either. I think he knows that this is not Italy's year. So what is my third least favorite? Which would be, I guess, my 4th place overall for the automatic qualifiers this year. It's going to go to Germany. And I will say, I thought long and hard about it before I filmed this video. And you know what? Maybe it's partly, I'm being truthful, but maybe it's because I don't want any more controversy. My last video, oh my goodness, I just am sick of it. But I truly mean this. I'm not just saying this because I feel like I've been coerced. Germany has grown on me a little bit. I mean, I haven't talked about it openly on this channel, but if you've watched my initial ranking, I did have Germany ranked pretty low initially. I don't know. I think it was just largely due to the initial fact that, there were 2 songs that were presented with that music video, and I just vastly preferred the first one. The second one, Baller, by Abhor and Tina, just didn't do anything for me compared to the first. And I think I was just so bitter about that I was kind of like, this isn't going to work for me. But there's a lot of things about this song that, I got to give Germany props for. First of all, first time Germany is sending a song all in German since 2007. I actually thought it was since the 90s. I didn't realize that it was a little more recent, but still, it's been like almost 20 years since Germany has decided to use their native language in a big way in a song. And so kudos to them for doing that. I still think that this is one of the best years for native tongue at the Eurovision Song Contest in the 21st century. So many countries are choosing to send their native language, and I love seeing that, particularly from countries like Sweden and Germany, who statistically don't do that. Now, I will say that, the other thing that is pretty impressive is how experimental this song is. Germany usually plays it safe, or they just kind of just cash in on something that we know isn't going to do well. It might be a little experimental, but not in a good way, like, Jendrik from a few years ago. But Baller is, an experimental electro pop song that, has roots in this kind of very like Berlin nightclub indie pop scene. Um, I do see echoes of Charlie XCX in here. I believe baller roughly translates to shoot in English. I shoot holes into the night, stars fall and crash onto my roof. It still hurts a little when I see you again, but I'll never come back no matter what you tell me. It's catchy. It's grown on me. It didn't at first, but the energy is there. I could see it. I mean, I think that it'll struggle with the juries because I think that vocally, it's not a song that is showing much off in that department. There's some vocal control, but it's going to sound digitized from what we've heard so far, and I'll be interested to see how that translates. I know that there's a moment in the performance where Tina like smashes this cello, and it's kind of got musicians everywhere cringing a lot because of how expensive those musical instruments are. So I don't think she's going to be doing that on stage. It'd be a lot to clean up as well. But I'm curious to see the sort of punk spirit that's kind of channeled through here. I get like the Veronicas mixed with Charlie XCX. I think that's sort of the vibe I'm getting. Um, alt indie pop, alt indie electro pop, that for me does not climax in a way that's that satisfying, but it grows on you. It grows on you. But perhaps for me is a better digital listening experience than a live performance listening experience. Again, it just doesn't seem like a song that lends itself very well to like live vocal. And so I'll just be interested to see how it's pulled off. But I think it's going to get some televote love. I think some people are going to respond to it. Lord of the Lost didn't do very well, and that was a potentially televote friendly song. So let's not get too crazy here. Germany has a huge uphill battle to get out of the bottom three, but maybe it's not at the very bottom. And I don't think that it'll be and I mean, 0 points from the juries is possible. Okay, we got to be a little bit. I mean, I do think that the juries are a lot less likely to even not award any country anything. There's usually a point or two thrown their way. It's the televote that we usually get the zeros, but it could happen with this song. So, if you're a really big fan of it, I would be a little worried. But to the fact that that I like it now more than Italy or Spain, I think speaks to just how refreshing it is. Now that we see the whole picture of the contest, I'm like, you know what, this is doing something a little different. I have to give it props, even if it's not fully cooked for me. And I did prefer that the B side to this one that they potentially could have sent, but decided not to. All right, so now let's get into the three songs that I actually am excited to see performed on the night. But what is my third favorite? This is again a bit of a toss-up, but I'm going to go with the UK. Now, the UK being this high up and not lower is pretty impressive. In the last couple of years, Ollie Alexander just didn't have the vocals. I don't know what else to say. I think that 0 points, it's harsh, but it was kind of deserved. The staging was a little too much, and it was too focused on that and not enough on making sure the vocals were there. And I've heard people talk about how the UK might have some sound mixing issues that have plagued artists recently. Mae Muller also seemed to have issues with being heard above the backing vocals. But yeah, I do think that this is perhaps the UK's strongest entry since Sam Ryder. I think that What the Hell Just Happened by Remember Monday is a song that's hard to forget, at least for me, and one that brings a huge smile to my face. I feel like it's a really wonderful showcase of female vocal and female harmony. It has that musical theater sensibility, which I think the charisma of that could respond well with the audience. I also just think that they're just such phenomenal vocalists. It does have a country tinge. It is a little mix, but then it also goes Maddie and Tay, and then it goes a little pentatonics. It's like a mixture of all of that. The country, the poppy, kind of party girl, the next day, in the mansion with the music video. I'm imagining, strewn clothes, and I don't know if they're going to be broken bottles literally on the stage floor, but something symbolizing the next morning, and maybe even like waking up in bed, and like there's it's a little corny, but it tells a story that could be fun on stage. I just think the theatricality of it is going to be entertaining. I'm kind of excited for it. Good job, UK. You sent something that I'm almost kind of rooting for. It's our only other girl group outside of Tautu Maitis in Latvia. They did a wonderful little collab. Although I really would have loved to have seen Remember Monday sing a bit of Burman Lemai, but they didn't get them to attempt that. They made them just sing their song. But yeah, just vocal runs. Yeah, just bring us that Cheetah Girls. Like, let's do it. I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of excited for it. I think that there's real potential with this one. My second favorite's going to go to Switzerland. Voyage is a subtle song. It's an understated song. It is a chanson, meaning a song not only sung in French, but it has a classic Eurovision flair to it. It's got these very kind of like plucky strings and then sweeping orchestral instrumentals. I really love the tempo change up and the slight key change up in the bridge, Fern, Fern, voyage, Fern. I love the drama of that. And I mean, with my very basic understanding of French from, up to 11th grade, I can I can understand the lyrics almost too well. I'm like, wow, this is generic French songwriting. Let's go on a journey. My candid eyes discover the world in a naive way that confounds the demons of the night. You throw words at me that suffocate. No matter what, I'll lie next to you tonight. One day you'll understand that flowers are more beautiful when you water them. You've cut me. So many times, if you want, I'll go with you on a journey. Go on a journey with you. A push and pull, will they, won't they love song, drama, emotion coming through. It's not a song that, like I said, I'm glad in the bridge it picks up because it's very understated and there's not a lot of room for her voice to expand and to kind of show her chest voice at all. That there's just a lot of kind of closeness and softness to the delivery of Zoe May's performance. Perhaps a little bit worried that it'll get a little lost and become a little bit of a Au Jardim situation where the song is just too slight and, not maybe the charisma isn't there on stage that connects with the audience. And then it's also coming off of hosting that actual contest, but winning the year before. So the juries are perhaps maybe thinking, well, we don't really need to give Switzerland all this love. We gave it to them last year, and the song's not quite as good. So it could get a little buried, and then the televote even more so. Makes me a little worried. Right now, the bookmakers have it above Spain and Germany at 16, which is honestly better than I was expecting. Still below Italy and the United Kingdom, though. But yeah, okay, so people are still like, not thinking it's going to just completely get left in the bottom five. But just because it's that level of the betting odds doesn't mean it could still pull a pretty low result. I wouldn't be terribly surprised, but I'll be rooting for it. But I also could see it not finishing in the top 10, just for all those other factors. It's a sweet, soft, melancholic female ballad that is coming from the host country that won the year before in a much more explosive way. I definitely, unfortunately, could see it getting overlooked for that reason. But I would have it in my top definitely my top 12, maybe even my top 10. But that leaves, of course, only one song that it's very clear is the one, I think, big automatic qualifying country this year that's bringing real heat, and that is France. Maman by Luann. Now, first of all, I do got to say, they were doing a lot for that song premiere. Usually, France premieres their song a little earlier in the national final season, but they chose to be one of the last songs to reveal. In fact, they might have actually been last, so that they could premiere it at this rugby match in France, where Luann is sort of on this giant, hanging platform, and there is a huge marching band with sparklers and spectacle and fireworks, all of which does not at all suit the ambiance of the track itself. I really think it's just because France wants to make it a big deal and, give a lot of prestige or, pomp to their Eurovision entry this year, which, has a real shot at winning. I mean, let's not say that France is out of the conversation here. It is number 3 in the betting odds. It has been consistently at number 3. The fact that it has a stronger chance than Finland at this point is kind of shocking, but it's the truth. I would definitely still prefer Finland to win over France. Right now, I have Austria as my number 1 choice. Then I have Finland. Then I actually still have Sweden, which I know is kind of, well, I'm going off of partly what is realistically going to happen. Then I have France. Although, honestly, if we're going by realism, I would kind of prefer France over Sweden, only because Sweden hosted just recently and just won. France has not, won or hosted Eurovision in a long time. Out of the automatic qualifiers, out of the big 5, I believe France is one of the ones to have hosted the longest ago. 1977 is the last time that France hosted the contest, which I do believe Spain, definitely Germany, and the UK, and obviously Italy all have done so much more recently. Spain, it's been a while too, but I think Spain has been more recent than that. So yeah, it's France's time, I mean, 45 years, almost 50 years. I mean, it would be a great comeback narrative for France. No more lovers, no more beds. In the end, you see, I built my life, and the emptiness is vast. So are the questions. How are you doing? Do you see everything here? And I've changed a lot. I've grown up. From you, I've kept everything that makes me who I am. I'm better now. I know where I'm going. I've stopped counting the years, and if I once wanted to stop time, now I'm the one she calls Mom, Maman. It is a tribute to her late mother, but I believe it is also an homage to her daughter. It's that sort of matrilineal kind of honoring that is imbued into the emotions of this song, carrying that love down to her child. I'm always going to be a sucker for these emotional female ballads. I mean, that's why I have Zoe May and Luann at the top here. The drama of this one is, I think, palpable. The emotion, the way she'll be able to command everyone's attention, I think will be inescapable. And I've heard, again, people talk about how we don't need a lot with the staging. We just need her and a microphone and the closeness of that, similar to Barbara Pravi, in just intimate camera work, good wide shots and good close-ups. I think that it will emotionally impact everyone. Obviously, there'll be probably some explosion when it, crescendos, because it does in the, in the second chorus into the third. But it has space for those intimate and then kind of grand moments. But we don't need to go too crazy. We don't need to go too crazy with the staging. The song doesn't need all of the bells and whistles. It just needs to engross you. So yeah, kudos to Luann. I think that it really once again, maybe my only critique I would give France is sometimes I just really want them to think a little more outside the box with these ballads or these types of songs. I really loved 2022's entry, and of course, it was completely I mean, it did horrible in the results. But I loved seeing France do something so different than what it normally does, which is so ballad, so chanson, and I just would like to see, because I get a little tired of it and they start to melodically not really sound that different from one another. For me personally, like I have had a little bit of a hard time remembering the melody to Maman, which is one of the things that makes me not like feel so confident that it should be number one. Whereas like Wasted Love just has extra bombast, a slightly more memorable melody, and of course, even more impressive vocals. So it still kind of washes that away a little bit. But if we're looking at these 6 songs, this is the one I think that is the most deserving of the highest placement, possibly to win. I don't know if I'm feeling too confident about that right now. Fortunately, I really do think the momentum is in Sweden or Austria's direction. I just don't know if we can change course on that. I don't know. Maybe Finland. I'm still kind of rooting for Finland. I know some people are rooting for Albania. I would love to see it happen. Not as big a fan of the song itself as everyone else, but I would love to see a Balkan country win, particularly a country that's never won before. But we'll see. I don't have a lot of faith in that. But that's kind of where we are. I'm really excited. It's only a week away, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what your ranking of these 6 songs would be, and check out those other 2 videos about the semis. And of course, I will be recapping the entire contest the week after. So if you want to stick around, hear my thoughts on that, give this a like, subscribe for more content. I will see you all in my next video. Peace, love, and light. Bye.